I'm Kevin Mendenhall. Today we're going to do an electrical plan in Revit. One of the things that people tend to have a little difficulty with is placing some of the out-of-the-box Revit electric families, and the reason for that being is they're either ceiling-based or wall-based. I've created a collection of electrical families that are completely 2D line based. There's no model geometry in the families whatsoever, and there is a connector in there so you can connect them to your electrical panel so that you can create a panel schedule. I'm going to make all these families and the panel, which I've set up to work with these families, available on drakecanyon.com, and I'll put that link in the description of the video. And one of the other things that I'll be going over is how to create a filter in Revit so that when you circuit these families into the panel, it's going to light the family up red, so you know which ones that you circuited and which ones that you have not circuited. So if you find the video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. And with all that said, let's jump into Revit and we'll get started on our electrical plan. Typically in Revit, when you download a family or even the out-of-the-box families, they are geometry. And I'll show you an example. So I'm going to insert a ceiling fan. Of course, you can see number one that it's looking for a ceiling. So that can be extremely frustrating in itself. I'm not even going to place the fan. I'm just going to go to our family, which is down here, and I'm going to edit this just so I can show you what it looks like inside the family. So there's all this geometry, there's a light source, there's a connector, and then if we go to our reference level, this is what you see in plan view. So the thing with this is you see all this stuff in your different plan views, and typically there's no reason that I need to see a ceiling fan in a section. I don't need to see any of my electrical stuff in any view except for the electrical plan. So what I've done, close out of this, what I've done is I've created all my own electrical symbols. I'm going to go ahead and create an instance. You can see that it's not looking for a host of any sort. I can put this wherever I want. And the difference between my symbols and anything else that you'll find on the web or on the Autodesk site is all they are is a 2D representation, and there is also a connector on it so we can connect to it. It will show in our panel schedule. If I were to take our plan, go to 3D and open this up to where we can see inside of that bedroom, you can see there is no fixture whatsoever in there. And the reason for that is if we go to edit this, all there is a 2D representation with our connector. And we have all our parameters set the way we want them set. So all you see is that ceiling fan. If you ever come to an instance where you want to see the ceiling fan, if you're doing renders or visualizations or some sort, you can always grab a family and stick it in there for visual representation, but there's no need whatsoever to see this stuff in your plan otherwise. So now that we know all that, we can do this really quickly. We can do our electrical plan super fast. If I want to place my can lights, and by the way, while I think of it, I'm going to get rid of this ceiling fan. I try to keep my templates as clean as I can and get rid of anything that I don't need. So I'll go through and place my can lights. Just going to right click, create instance, and put them wherever I want them to be. I'm just going to copy those. As with anything else, if you want to look at your grid to kind of help place your fixtures, as I've mentioned before, I like the 2-foot grid. So I'm going to do that, and then you can snap these to that grid. Makes life a lot easier to do an electrical plan like this. If you wanted to move your grid, you can see the center of our door is not exactly where the center of the grid is. You can always align that. So you could go like that, and then in placing your fixtures, I'm just going to click on this, create similar, and put one right there, one there, and one there. Copy those. I'll just go right down the middle here. Something like that. It's probably a little overkill on the can lights. We'll just get rid of those. Same thing goes for all of our symbols. I'll drop an outlet in here. Just going to right click on the family in my browser, create instance, and spacebar to turn that the way we want it. And we'll just drop those wherever we want them. Goes super fast. And the other thing with our outlets here is you select the outlet. You can drop them with no regard of what type they are, whether it's AFCI, GFCI, waterproof GFCI. You just select it and select whatever type that's supposed to be. Later we'll come back and we'll tag these. So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time with me placing symbols, so I'm going to go ahead and do all this, and then I'll come back and we'll explain what I did. Alright, I've gone ahead and placed all my symbols, my outlets, my lights, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, all the things that I need in my electrical plan are now in here. I've even gone so far as to put all my wires in. As I had mentioned earlier, I dropped everything in without any regard for what type of outlet or what type of switch. So I'll recap that process real quick. I'll use this hallway light real quick. We'll just take all this stuff away. And so I hit TG on my keyboard. That gets my tag tool started. Just going to drop that there. Up here in the upper left, I'm going to select vertical, and that's going to turn my tag vertically. I'm just going to tag that. And the reason why I use tags is just for this reason, so I can move this tag wherever I want it to be. And I want it to be right there. Now I'm going to go to Systems. On my Systems tab, I'm going to go over to my wire. I always use the spline wire. And with these 2D symbols having a connector in the family, you'll get this little magenta circle with an X through it. That tells you that your wire is connecting to that fixture. And I'm just going to wrap that around and stop it right there. I leave them short because this is going to end up being an arrow pointing to that switch. And I'm going to do one more wire. By the way, if you hit enter on your keyboard, that'll start your wire again. And I'm just going to drop that just like that and escape to get out of the tool. So a quick note about my wires, you'll notice that they're dashed. The way that I did this was I went to Manage, Object Styles. If you click on any category and hit the letter that you want to go to, in our case it's W for wires, and I changed that line style right here, so it changes all my wires. In my opinion, that just looks better. So in my template I have two sheets that are set up for electrical. One is the electrical plan itself, the other one is the panel and gas piping. So I already have the panel schedule sitting here. This is going to populate as we start plugging our lighting fixtures and outlets into it. But now for the coolest part. So if I go to Visibility Graphics, I go over here to Filters. I've created a filter and I've named it Circuited. So the way I created this was I went to New, I named it, I went through these check boxes and I selected electrical fixtures, lighting devices, and lighting fixtures. Then I come over here, I select all selected, which is all three of those categories, panel in the drop down box, equals, and then I chose our panel that we have in our drawing. What this is going to do is it's going to turn the lines red. Every time I plug something into the panel board, it's going to turn it red and it's going to tell me that it's been connected. So if I'll start with the outlets over in this room, just as an example. I'll select all of those, and by the way, generally I select all in a room and then one outside of the room, and I'm going to go to power, and you can see it turned all those outlets red. This is extremely helpful when you don't know what outlets you've plugged into the panel board already. This tells you exactly what's been plugged in. And I wish I had thought of this, but I actually learned this from my one of my instructors, Corey Kilpack at Glendale Community College. So thanks to him for that. So in part 2, we'll finish the electrical plan, and I'll go through some more specifics on how to place switches, fill out the panel schedule, etc. Thank you for watching part 1, and once again I'd like to remind you to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.